Have you ever seriously thought about what it would take to build a computer operating system from absolute zero? I mean, not just tweaking Linux or using some pre-built kernel, but starting with nothing, a completely blank screen. It sounds almost impossible, right? And, well, it is a monumental task. But today, we're going to peel back the curtain on the very first, most fundamental step in that incredible journey.
You know, the source material for this explainer, the LearnixOS book, kicks off with this exact quote. And that's our goal here today, too. We're going to take this really complex idea and break it down into something that just makes sense. So, let's dive in.
So, what does it really take? Let's forget about all the fancy stuff for a second. No user interfaces, no file systems, no networking. Before you can even dream of that, you have to solve a much more basic problem. How do you get your own code to run on a computer, all by itself? For a programmer, building an entire OS is pretty much the ultimate from-scratch project. It is a massive undertaking, but you gotta think of it as a journey, not a single giant leap. And just like any other journey, it all starts with one small, but absolutely crucial, first step.
This old saying is just perfect for what we're talking about. We are not building that whole 1,000-mile road today. Not even close. We're just focused on laying down that very first paving stone. And for us, that means figuring out how to run our code on what programmers call bare metal. So let's be clear, our goal here isn't to build the next Windows or Mac OS. It's way simpler. We just want to create one tiny little program that can be executed directly by the computer's processor, with absolutely no operating system there to help it out. We want our code running right on the hardware itself.
The technical name for what we're trying to build is a standalone binary. You can think of it as a completely self-sufficient program. It has to bring its own lunch, its own tools, its own rulebook, because it can't ask an operating system for help. Why? Because there is no operating system to ask. And right about now, you're probably thinking, wait a minute, don't all programs need an OS to run? And yeah, for pretty much every single program you've ever used or written, the answer is a big yes. They all rely on this hidden, critical dependency to do even the simplest things. And that dependency, well, that's our first major hurdle. To get started, we have to do something that feels totally wrong. We need to fire our biggest helper. We have to get rid of something called the standard library. It's this invisible foundation that almost every program is built on. And for our project, it's gotta go. So what even is the standard library? Well, it's basically a huge collection of pre-written code that acts as a middleman, a translator between your program and the operating system. When your code wants to, say, print some text to the screen or open a file, it doesn't talk to the OS directly. Nope, it asks the standard library, and the standard library does all the heavy lifting. Okay, here's the best way to think about it. Imagine a kitchen. Writing a normal program is like walking into a fully stocked professional kitchen. The OS has given you everything: pots, pans, running water, a pantry full of ingredients. All you have to do is write the recipe. Building our standalone program is like showing up to an empty concrete room and being told you have to build the stove yourself before you can even think about cooking. And this isn't just some weird concept in one language. Oh no. Every major programming language has its own version of a standard library. You've got STD and Rust and C++. Python has its OS and sys modules. It's a universal tool that programmers everywhere rely on every single day. Let's make this super concrete. Here is the simplest, most classic program you can imagine, written in the Rust programming language. Hello world. That little println command tells the computer to display the text, and it works perfectly. Because println is part of Rust's standard library, it handles all the messy, complicated stuff behind the scenes to make those letters appear on your screen. Now, watch this. To start our journey to bare metal, we add just one single line of code right at the top of the file. No STD. This is what's called an attribute, and it's basically a special message to the Rust compiler. It says, hey, we're going rogue. Do not link the standard library. We're on our own now. And what's the result? Boom. Our beautiful, simple little program is completely broken. The compiler just throws a fit. And this is perfect because it illustrates our problem exactly. The errors tell us everything. It says it cannot find macro print line. Of course it can't. We just threw all our kitchen tools away. And then it complains about needing a panic handler because we've taken away its safety net and haven't told it what to do if something goes terribly wrong. So, are we stuck? Is this the end of the road?
Do we really have to reinvent every single tiny thing from scratch? Well, not quite. This is where the Rust language, specifically, has an ace up its sleeve, a sort of secret weapon for this exact problem. It's called the core library. The core library is this special, super minimized version of the standard library, and here is the absolutely crucial part. It has 0 dependencies on an operating system. None. It only gives you the most fundamental building blocks of the language itself, like the basic data types and operations.
Let's go back to our kitchen analogy for a second. If the standard library is that fully stocked kitchen, the core library isn't a kitchen at all. It's more like being handed a pile of raw metal and some wood. It gives you the fundamental materials, but now it's up to you to actually forge your own knives and build your own oven. It's a lot harder, for sure, but it gives you complete and total control.
So you know all those scary-looking error messages we saw a minute ago? Well, it turns out they're not a sign of failure, not at all. They are our roadmap. The compiler is literally giving us a step-by-step to-do list for creating our very first standalone program. If we just break it down, the errors tell us exactly what we need to build next. First, since printline is gone, we have to invent our own way to print to the screen. Second, we need to create something called a panic handler, which is just a set of instructions for what our program should do when it hits an error it can't recover from. And finally, we're going to have to implement our own versions of a few other basic functions the standard library used to give us for free. You know, this whole process really brings to mind a famous quote from the father of computer science, Alan Turing. We started with what is literally the simplest program you can write, we removed just one safety net, and we immediately uncovered this entire hidden world of complexity underneath. It's just a perfect reminder of how even today, machines can still take us by surprise. So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. We totally take for granted that typing something like printline just works. But when you're all on your own, no operating system to hold your hand, how much code do you think it actually takes to build that functionality from scratch? Just to get one single character to appear on a screen? The answer to that is the next step on this fascinating journey.